When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. And you know, I was listening to Eric Prince's podcast with Sean Ryan.
Yeah.
And he brought up a good point that just lit my brain up.
Yeah.
His theory, I don't know if this is true. You can vouch because you probably know.
Yeah.
But the U.S. military industrial complex is the one pushing this and probably pushing at the Ukrainian thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I always have this theory that we have a war every 10 years, especially in the UK, because we didn't have Vietnam, but we had the Falklands War in 82, and then we had the Gulf War in 91, and then we had September 11th 2001, and then we're in Afghan, and now here we are now in 2022, and you got Ukraine. For me, the war is a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
War is a business, and it's money, and also you need to. There's a business, but also there's guys and girls now in the military, been in 10 years, never seen combat, and they're having real issues in recruitment and getting people through the doors. So maybe some sort of operational tool
Someone getting paid back somewhere.
That. So I always have my own theory.
Sense.
There's a 10-year cycle.
Is the Ukraine thing, is that a lost cause? I've got friends that tell me he's going to probably go nukes over there.
I think, this is just me being myself,
Your
my
theory.
own view. Yeah, my own theory is I think he underestimated his own abilities in his armies. He got rid of 150 of his advisors. I think they were telling what he wanted to hear.
Stop.
When actually, really,
stop the bleeding.
Yeah. We're not as good as what we think we are. I hear people worrying about Finland, Sweden, Poland. I was like, look, he's struggling with Ukraine, and
he's not going to do anything. Everybody's thinking, he's going to invade now Poland.
Yeah,
with what?
With what? Yeah. So for me,
he pulled all his drag addict prisoners out and put them on the first wave.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I heard anyway.
That's it. Yeah, and for me, it's like, I'm already looking at the situation here, the rebuild as well. From a security perspective, getting construction companies back in.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's
going to be a big rebuild.
We'll
do you think Putin's going to stop, or he's going to keep on going?
I think everyone's worried about the nuclear bomb and things like that. I think his generals would step in. He doesn't.
A coup.
He's not going to be one pressing that button. I don't know if you saw there was an article, an assassination attempt on him, and he blamed his security team and things like that. I think that is the way to take someone down like that. It would be after an inside job.
There's probably some other government agencies that are kind of involved in doing something over there.
Way above our pay scale. Yeah,
we have no idea.
Yeah, I know. But again, also, yes, it's bad what you see.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. But it's like. It's interesting, but what are we seeing and what's actually happening on the ground? That's one thing that, for example, when I used to go to Somalia, I go spearfishing for lobster and fish down in South Mogadishu, and people are like, really? It's Mogadishu? And it's like, yes, because the world is, has this perception on Mogadishu from what they've seen from Black Hawk Down in the TV. Yes, there's bad areas, but there's also some good people. And I really talk about evacuating the Canadian embassy, evacuating the oil companies, working in Yemen on my own, Somalia on my own, doing all these tasks. None of them would have been successful if it wasn't for that local community.
True.
We're very quick to tarnish a certain community because what we see on the TV or on the media, and actually, it's only a very, very, very small minority who are bad, and that's the same here, and that's the same in the UK. So really, sometimes when I go out or our teams go out, especially Humint, this is what we're seeing or what we're hearing. What is the actual ground truth? Well, actually, it's not as bad as everyone's making out. So I always, when I see things, there may be a bit of propaganda, but bad news always sells. No one hear about good news. When I used to be in the special forces and we go away in operations or do hostage rescues, I always tell my wife, don't even look at the TV because that's going to be quite glorified to what's actually happening. There was an incident during the Arab Spring when the UK Special Forces had to go in and get some of the oil workers out, and they made out in the newspaper this big daring mission. It wasn't. It was literally just ticking their names off and they go on. So
business.
It's a business. Yeah.
You're right.
But I've been very fortunate in my career. I've had presidents governments, royal families requesting me to come in and sort of advise. I don't have the capacity to run their security, but me and our guys come in and we sort of do an assessment, because that's also what I find difficult in the security industry. When you're sort of chatting to some of these big corporates, they already have security officers and security directors, and they're so worried about their own job. They're worried to get you in because they think, well, this guy's going to come in and take over, and that's not what we do.
A lot of territorial alpha,
very territorial
personalities.
alpha. Yeah, whereas we don't actually want that. We want to come in,
help them out,
get you to a level where you need to be, and then step back out. Do a lot of quality control. Some of these clients get the contract, and once they've got the contract, the quality sort of deteriorates. So also just making sure that the quality control there. But that's another issue I'm finding in the security industry is getting in them doors, because people are conscious that they think their jobs are going to go, and it's not.
What do you think of the future of the U.S. private security is? Do you think we're going to have the big five still, or you think the boutique companies like your security company, consulting company, which is all over the world, do you think the small boutique companies will start thriving next year and pick up the slack?
I think they will. We're already seeing it with the aftermath of Afghanistan. I can't name certain companies that we took out, but they were big companies and had big players supporting them, and now questioning, well, what did we pay for? What have we paid for? When this new unique boutique company managed to achieve what you didn't. And so I think I think that's opened a lot of eyes, and also the fact that for these big ones to thrive, like I said, you need to drop your prices, and there needs to be a balance. So you can still make money and still deliver an excellent product, and everyone can be happy.
Right.
But rather than increasing your profit and then deteriorating the product, your client's going to see it. And I think also for some of these clients is knowledge to them. Like, we work with some clients as well in like, what is your insurance? Do you actually understand what your insurance is, and what you do get and what you don't get? And with your security, have you challenged them? Have you asked to see your evacuation plan, your crisis management plan, and have you done due diligence on your staff? Who's responsible for that? And all these sort of things that they don't really understand. And so I think the big five, they will still obviously succeed because they have the things, but I do see that these smaller boutique and it's more personable as well. Some of these bigger organizations, there's no flex and there's no bend. Being a more boutique, each client is different. What we do with one client, what we do with one client is different what we do another client. Whereas some of them will these are our services, and they treat each client as the same as another. Whereas each client's unique. They have their own sort of demands, their own issues, and things like that. And so you need to be flexible, and you need to be. We do a lot of virtual VCSO, virtual company security officers. They don't want to be paying for someone full time to be there, but they do want someone on the other end of the phone just to be able to, but they don't want to be calling India. They want to be calling someone.
They want to hear an English voice, not Indian voice.
And no disrespect to the Indian, as a young lad who's 20 years old, man in the phone, doesn't understand security. You want someone on the other end of the phone who understands security, understands your plans, your procedures, and be able to assist. So again, it's all about education from us in the EP and the security world, but also educating those in the industry. Because again, some of these poor corporations are buying everything, thinking they're needing it, when actually we come in and it's like, well, actually you don't need that. You're paying far too much for that, but you are lacking areas here, and sort of still saving the money, but it's all about sales. Someone will come in and sell you everything and
transact
and scare you to death, thinking that you're going to need it when actually you don't as well. So that's another thing. That's what. Are
your clients being sold a bunch of crap out there right now?
That's what I'm hearing. But also, it doesn't help the likes of you and me and others who in the security industry, very proud of our roles and proud of the industry and those that work in it. Now, there's always going to be those that muddy the waters. And so, and for us, unfortunately, we're tending to deal with clients who have had bad security providers before, and sort of like coming in.
What's your biggest gripe you hear out there from clients that leave one of those big fives, come to you and say, I'm sick of XYZ company because they do this. What's the biggest scripts?
Well, I think it's being able to pick up the phone and someone get back to them straight away, especially if it's a security issue.
Response time.
The response time. It's the response time.
Okay.
And the way that they're treated, they feel like they're special rather than just one of many under the umbrella.
Clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I often refer to this industry as the cartel.
I like that.
Yeah, many cartels throughout the United States and America and to the world. You have, big 5 security companies. We're not going to name names. We don't want to get sued, but we just, it is what it is. And Dean's been running your own security company for how many years now?
Since I left out in 2011.
Oh, wow.
I've helped set up a couple of companies. I'm with another company now in the US. So I sort of more the business development side. Now my profiles are exposed. I'm not the one smuggling people across borders anymore. But but I'm, that experience I've had. I sort of bring that to the table. But again, a point that I've just remembered then when we were chatting, you talk about the cartels. Actually, it's like when we work around the world, is what we try to do, and where we've been quite successful, is we try to put as much employment and food on the table to the locals as possible.
Oh, nice.
What I've seen before in some of these countries, like a majority of our stuff's out of the US, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and so where we can give locals the jobs, it works better for us. They trust us more. They give us more intelligence. They want us to be there. They want us to succeed. Whereas you get some of these other companies that come in and want to bring their own guys and girls in, and they're just not getting anywhere. So that's been an element of success for us as well. Is yes, you can't give all the jobs to the locals. Some of the key decision roles need to stay with us. But yes, if we need someone to do some man guarding, let's give it to the local guy. Let's not take food and water off their table and their families, and that's where we've been successful. And selecting the right team for the job. Evacuating the Canadian embassy. If I asked you, what do you think my team looked like? What would you say on paper?
You can't see them; they're all grey.
Yeah, probably all grey. Yeah,
all grey,
probably
man.
about 6 to 8 guys.
Yep,
ex-special forces. all armed. But actually, it wasn't. All I needed was a 50-year-old internet shop owner from Worcester in UK, because he was from the tribes that we were passing through, and 2 fish wagons. Okay. And so it's like, each task we do around the world, we sort of look at it and it's like, right, what is the footprint we need to achieve it, and then then grow out from there. And it doesn't have to be all the bells and whistles, as we say.
Right.
So it's still being able to achieve the role, but with the right team. And can we build those relationships in the countries, because that's the other thing as well. We're using the locals. That might be one task. If you've got another task in that country, you've already built that rapport, that relationship, and it's a lot easier then to to then go back into country rather than them having an impression on you before and not liking you.
Exactly. We're going to change it up, folks. We just got done talking about private security for about a good hour.
It's an hour, is it?
And it went by fast. We're both passionate about what we do.
Of course.
I mean, the security industry has given me so much, and it's given you so much. And special forces, military has given you and me both a lot in our journey in life here. Dean's got some other projects he's working on. He's quite the businessman. You have multiple businesses going on. Yeah. So, Dean, I heard we talked, and you have a couple of shows going on a TV network. I'm not supposed to say who because of legal documentation. Of course. And so, are you excited about that? Some reality shows? Yeah, it wasn't something I really wanted. I saw me doing. When I left the military, went into the private security sector, and then when I went on and did the bike ride and broke the world records, my head came above the parapet, and I then became a public figure, and was I didn't see a career in international guest speaking, writing books, doing podcasts, or even TV as well. So when I broke the world record, a lot of people were like, well, what's the next task? And so my next challenge was to kayak the River Nile. And I thought, I'll do that. And because of the success of the bike ride, I thought it'd be quite easy. And I was chatting to sponsors, chatting to some of the networks, and unfortunately we're in a society where people are like, well, how many Instagram followers you got? Is that really? And is that a big deal? It's quite a big deal when you start dealing with brands or trying to turn eyes towards your challenge. And so
So for me, I've put that challenge on the side for now. And as you said, very multi-hyphenated, doing the security, doing books and TV. And so my sort of main effort the next 2 years is to raise that profile. So we've had a great opportunity with a couple of big TV shows. One is a main network, well within my lane. It's Special Forces as well. So it's not a gardening show or a baking show. So I'm happy with that.
Right.
And so my sort of plan is to raise the profile there, and then when we have more eyes on us, then we sort of bring that bring the challenge back to the table. But we have more eyes, and then from a philanthropy angle, we can raise more money. So yeah, just juggling a few things. But I had before we came in, I said I had a call with a head of station in one of the countries about 3 weeks ago, and he's like, I've just Googled you, and I see this cyclist, I see this guy. I said, look, no, there's two Dean Stotts. There's the one that the world will see, the book, the TV, this podcast, guest speaking, but very much still working in that discrete crisis management. Yes, it's not me, physically getting those people out, but there's guys and girls I know who still remain in the shadows, who I can sort of push that work to. So sort of really using this profile to sort of raise my profile in the security industry, being
Smart
the
move.
go-to. Yeah, there
Great branding.
one of the Far East prime minister's teams reached out on LinkedIn, and they'd heard me on
Wow.
Jocko's podcast, and so it's like, we heard about what you did in the security, and so these things do work. It's
just takes time.
It's just using it.
Leveraging it.
Yeah, leveraging it, having the balance as well. I get it with some clients who want you to remain discreet.
Of course.
But that's fine. I would put someone else on that task. It won't be me. Because my surveillance days are gone now, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, Dean, just so you guys know, Dean, you rode a bike from South America all the way to Alaska, and you broke your leg or something like that?
No, I broke. So I got injured out of the military. I never had any ambitions of leaving the Special Forces. And after 16 years, I had a parachuting accident.
Right.
So tore all the ligaments in my knee, my hamstring, my calf, my quadriceps, and that's then how I found myself working in the security industry. Within 48 hours of leaving, I was helping set up that project in Benghazi, and so. I was doing, we've touched on some of the security tasks that I was doing. I was doing just very discrete jobs. I was working, the great thing about the industry is I was doing sensitive jobs in the military, but I was doing more sensitive jobs as a civilian contractor because I wasn't governed by certain rules of engagement. I had flexibility to go where I wanted to. But the great thing about the industry, a lot of my friends were doing the maritime security stuff, especially in 2011. East Africa was at its height.
Ship security,
and I didn't want to be competing with them. And there was guys working in Afghan and Iraq. I didn't want to be doing your six weeks on, 6 weeks off. It was good money. I wanted to learn as much as I could about this industry. And so I did a lot of ad hoc stuff. So each phone call I got was a different job. One phone call, can you take the UAE royal family super yacht from Barcelona to Maldives? And from that task, I would learn a lot about that industry. Next phone call, can you train the Kurdish Special Forces and train the Presidential Close Protection Team? And so each job I did had new challenges, but open up other avenues within the security industry. And in a short period of time, I was learning a lot about the security industry, and especially the corporate side of it as well. Being on the ground and then the back end, working with the clients. And so after the Canadian Embassy, I came back from that trip, and my normal standard operational procedure was, wash my clothes, charge the phone, have some food, and get ready for the next phone call. It wasn't rare for me to land, and Alana was running everything behind the scenes. She was managing stuff for my
Your
emails.
wife was?
Yeah, my wife. Yeah,
Wow.
and she's a CPO. She's a surveillance operator. She's done a ship security officers as well. Yeah, she has. Yeah, because the original plan when I got out was that she would be working with me, and then she got pregnant with our daughter. So she understands the industry as well, which is great because the business could really take off because she could manage the back of house while I was on the ground, and it wasn't rare for me, like I said, to fly home in the morning and her just give me another bag and then flying back out.
She never saw you.
Yeah, never saw me.
How are you guys still married?
Yeah, well, listen, after the Canadian Embassy, I came home. Yeah, my wife, and realised I'd only been home 21 days in a 365-day calendar. I've been so fixated on really pushing the business, and it then became apparent that this was 5 years now after 5 years of literally out the door all the time,
right.
But gaining a lot of experience within the industry and becoming the man that I was known as when others won't. Dean's the guy you need to speak to. So I came back from this trip and I realised I was trying to match the adrenaline rush I had when I was still in the Special Forces without actually mentally coming to terms with the fact that you'd left. So I was taking a hell of a lot of risks in the industry, but thankfully they were successful. But if they weren't, I didn't have my friends coming to rescue me. I didn't have, QRFs and hostage rescue teams from the Special Forces. So chapter 16 is called Dead or Divorced. That's the conversation me and my wife were having at this point.
Right.
And she said, look, if you continue at this tempo, you will be dead or divorced. Because I literally, with the Canadian Embassy, I came back and I told her what I'd done. It was almost like a throwaway comment. She goes, you've disconnected completely from society. That's a big project, and you've just sort of brushed it under the carpet and waiting for your next phone call. And so my wife is a property developer, and she said, look, come work with me in the industry. So this leg now, five years later, was 2 kilos lighter than this leg because of the muscle wastage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I just bought a push bike off Amazon to cycle to and from the office. But, I did a lot of upper body, TRXs I used to throw in the bag when we're on the security jobs, but never really did any cardiovascular. And so just cycling 8 miles there, 8 miles back, just felt like his weight was off my shoulders. But you can imagine, with my backstory, I wasn't interested anything to do with property developing. And so I said to my wife, I always fancied doing a world record. I always remember reading the Guinness Book of Records as a young boy, fascinated in these amazing feats. So I said, look, I want to do a world record a month before my 40th birthday. So I sort of joked that my wife clearly wanted me out of the house at this point. I lived in Scotland. I was thinking maybe east to west coast of Scotland. My wife then found the world's longest road, which runs from southern Argentina to northern Alaska.
She found it?
She found it, yeah. 14,000 miles, 22,000 kilometers. And so
you drove that?
Yeah, sorry, I cycled it, yeah. So having only cycled 20 miles, I applied for the world record, and
you got it.
But I sort of knew from my time in the military, I had the endurance, I had the mindset, and my injury wasn't going to hamper the challenge. And sort of taking everything from the time in the military and the security, having a good plan, having a good team around you, you'd be successful. So I set the world record was 117 days.
Wow.
I rang Harry up, I sort of told him what I was doing, and he was about to launch a campaign focusing on mental health, him, his brother and Kate. So that was the campaign I did. We heads together and set a target of £1 million.
How cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I trained for a year and broke the world record by 17 days, became the first man in history to do it under 100 days.
That's crazy.
So not beat it, just smashed it. So,
that is insane.
Yeah, but more impressively, we raised $1.3 million for charity.
$1.3 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the book Relentless sort of taught, it's almost like 3 books in one. It's my childhood, as you've touched on slightly, and my military. I don't really go into the Special Forces details, because I can't, but the middle section's of private security stuff, and we've just touched on a couple of things. Yeah, there's a lot of bigger
stuff in there.
There's a reason why I did that job for $7,000, and
there's a reason
in there, and then it leads up to the final third, which is the bike ride. But everything from the first 2 thirds of the book, those experiences are just taken to the bike ride.
So, folks, there you have it. There's Dean Stott. Get that correct. And Dean's, it's an honor to have you on the show. And this is the longest podcast I've done sitting down in a studio.
Oh, really?
It's like, because you have so much good content and so much valuable information for anybody, not just security, but anybody trying to figure themselves out. Like, you were passionate about water, you did surfing.
Yeah.
And you love that, and you go, hey, this is a good fit for me.
Yeah.
You just find something. You don't have to be a special forces to be special.
No. Yeah.
Look at Prince Harry.
Yeah.
He's doing something special with his philanthropy, with his foundation, and stuff he loves to do. You find out what you're gifted at and thrive in your gift.
Yeah, I think, again, one of the ethos of Special Forces is the unrelenting pursuit of excellence, which is a great ethos. And I don't just see it in the military or in sport, in anything you do. As long as you do it to the best of your ability. We're in a society, I've touched on it earlier about social media. Everyone's comparing themselves to others. But I don't believe anything that I see on there. When I did that bike ride, people were telling me, have you seen this guy, the way he trains? I'm not that guy. I'm Dean. And
You're Dean. You're made to be Dean.
Yeah, and this is the way I'll do it. Yes, I actually spoke to the previous record holders.
Did you?
They all started in Alaska and finished in Argentina.
Yeah.
But I asked them 3 things: what worked, what didn't work, and if you were going to do it again, what would you do differently? So I could put my plan together. And all their issues were in South and Central America.
Right.
So I thought, well, why take a gamble with the second half of the challenge? Why not address those issues early, get them out of the way? So I turned it on its head. I started in Argentina and went up. And again, it's just because they broke the world record and they're professional cyclists, it's the way to go. It's not.
Right.
So yeah, don't just follow everyone else's path. Choose your own path.
And my weakness too is I'm such an overachiever being a Marine.
Yeah.
I'm naturally just alpha male, and I always compete. I'm always competing.
Yeah.
And when I don't think I'm doing good, I'm really doing good.
Yeah.
But sometimes, going into the holiday season, we're going through some depression. We just got out of COVID.
Yeah.
I have friends getting through divorce. You're actually doing better than you think, probably.
Yeah, you are.
And don't let these seasons of what we're going through as a culture and all that, don't let that get you down, because you're actually probably doing better than what you think you're doing.
Yeah, I think, again, on the bike ride, I was asked, what am I trying to promote on this bike ride? And I didn't really have an idea. And I said, well, physical activity helps your mental state. And as you touched on there, I'm a genuine believer in that. There's a great, I'm not saying go cycle 40,000 miles, because that's ludicrous. But even if you just go out for a walk for 2 kilometers, just do something, just get out, and that tends to be the root cause of a lot of people with their depression.
Yeah.
But a great analogy is your body is like a river. It needs to keep flowing, and as soon as it stops, it gets stagnant. There's a pool, there's disease, and that's that
True.
issue there.
Yeah.
So you need to keep it going. What the problem I have is it's controlling the flow of the river. It's
get that endorphin kick.
Yeah. Mine's like a grade 6 waterfall, and sometimes it just needs to be a nice flowing river. But I still feel the same whether I'm giving it my 110% on a world record bike ride or whether I'm going for a walk with a family. So you just need to keep yourself active. Yeah,
and Dean has nothing short of overachieving your entire career, but it all started at your childhood. It progressed. Yeah. Do you think you'd be where you're at now without the military?
No, I don't think I would. I think someone asked me, what would you say to Dean Stott at age 16? Would you change anything? And say, no, I wouldn't. And I'm talking about all the great stuff. In my book, I talk about how I went to the military prison for knocking 3 guys.
Locked up?
Yeah, I got locked up for 56 days. So my career wasn't a gleaming career, but I learned from that. So I would do everything that I did bad and everything that I did good, because you can't be experienced without experiences.
And he was locked up in military prison, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you learn from that experience. You learn, the problem we got again in society is the word failure. Everyone's scared of failure, or that word failure. I don't call it failure, I call it experience.
Experience,
so
exactly.
what have I taken away from that experience? Okay, if I failed again because of the same reasons, I haven't learned from that experience. So as long as you don't repeat it, then you're still moving forward. You're progressing. So no, I wouldn't change anything from my time. I do think the military sort of gave me that confidence. Without a doubt, probably too confident. We get a confidential report each year, and every year it was like, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and I was on that line. But I was confident in my abilities, and I showed it.
Right.
But for me, positivity is contagious, negativity is contagious. When I'm working in close-knit teams, you need to be positive. You need to believe that you're going to be able to do it. If they look at you and there's doubt in you, then there's going to be doubt in them as well. So that wasn't arrogance, that was confidence that we would achieve everything that we were doing when we got out the door.
Wow. Well said. Dean, do you have any parting words as we go into the holidays for everybody listening? Any advice?
I think for me, I've touched on, if you are feeling, it is a difficult period, and I'm guilty of it myself. It's like, my wife knows that if I'm grumpy and I'm already worried about what am I going to be eating over the Christmas period because I have this show coming up and I need to be staying fit. But just stay physically active. For those that are wanting to look into 2023 and doing your own sort of challenges, however big, one of the things I used to say to my recruits is anticipation is worse than participation. A lot of people will tell you why they can't do it or worry about why they can't do it, and actually once they've done it and they look back, they're like, actually wasn't that bad. So that's one thing I'd say for anyone who's looking to do it, set their own challenges. It's just, believe that you can do it. I mean, you're halfway there.
I love how, like in your book, I notice how optimistic you always are, always positive, always the higher road.
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think you have to. If you can't believe you're going to do it yourself and it's failed, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks around you. But if you don't believe you're going to do it, then it's interesting. My coach Ken, I had an original cycling coach who I'd seen. He had big guru in the bike magazines. All about, because cycling had evolved so much from when I was a young boy. It was all about power to weight ratio and things like that, stuff I didn't really know about. And so I thought, well, this guy's the expert, and I'll speak to him. And then I was missing a couple of cycle rides because I was still transitioning the business. I was going to go full time in January, and this was like November, and I missed a ride. He said, "Oh, we're going to be doomed," and I was like, "Well, that's not really the attitude I want." And so I ignored him anyway. And the following week, I did Land's End John O'Groats, did 930 miles in 9 days from one end of the UK to the other, just to prove a point to him, and then realised he wasn't the person I needed around me. And then I met my coach Ken, and it was an open night in Aberdeen, and he had his own triathlon club, and I walked in, and obviously I don't look like a cyclist, and I remember when he introduced me once when I was guest speaking. I said, I had this open night, and this big bold tattoo guy comes in and tells me that he's going to cycle the world's longest road and break a world record, and he'd never cycled before. But he said, I actually believed him. The way he sold it to me, I believed him. And that's what you need. You need to believe yourself, and you need to surround with those that are also going to believe. And even if they don't believe you're not going to do it, as long as they don't tell you. Because I did say to Ken, when I finished the bike ride, he said, look, I knew you were going to do it, but I didn't realise you were going to do it in such an impressive manner. So, yeah, that's the thing. Having that self-belief, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Believe in your dreams.
Believe in your dreams, yeah. And nothing's impossible. It just hasn't been done yet.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Nothing is impossible. It just hasn't been done yet.
And with that, folks, we'll leave it at that.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Dean, for being on the show. And where can people find you?
So, yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and you touched my website, www.deanstott.com.
And there you go. If you want to have Dean on your podcast, reach out to him on LinkedIn. Probably Instagram, probably the easiest to get a hold of you.
Yeah, and anyone is. You'll get a reply.
You get a reply.
Yeah,
and you manage it yourself, right?
Yeah, I manage it myself.
Holy cow.
Yeah, for me, it was a taboo from the special forces. I'm really starting to understand about it.
Okay.
Because there are benefits of it.
There is.
It's using the benefits of that and things like this as well, the podcast.
And you think LinkedIn is probably the most powerful tool for marketing for B2B?
Really interesting. Obviously I mentioned that person who got in touch with me on LinkedIn, but there has been people who get in touch with me. A lot of my stuff, I don't have a security website. It's word of mouth. It's just reputation. It's like, this is the person you need to speak to.
Wow,
so
pretty incredible.
I think we're only 1 or 2 layers away from anyone in the world. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thanks for listening to the Fearless Mindset Podcast. I'm in studio today. Thanks to Chris Decker and the Salescast team for making us look good.
Yeah.
And thanks for the guest for making the show. And before Christmas, we're going to launch this before Christmas. So it'll be a little Christmas gift for the audience and everybody listening to the show. And you'll get Dean's opinion on the security sector, how he really feels. So with that said, we'll wrap this up. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll have some more specialties for the Christmas season for you guys. So thanks for supporting the show. And we appreciate you all. Have a great Christmas all. And we'll see you next year.